of the S Trade channel. Today is the 24th of February 2017, and today's video is about Chris Hemsworth. Now, as I always say, and I say again, um, we are not against transgenders, right? We can judge you based on how you live. God judges you, right? Because God has given to each and every one of us the choice to mess his or her life up. So we can't get in the way of that, right? We can't tell you this is how you're supposed to live or this is how what you're supposed to do. That's totally up to you. The person who decides that, who judges you at the end of the day, is God. All what we are trying to do here is show you facts, help you connect the dots, help you to make sense of things, all right? Because what is happening in the world is that people are making wrong decisions based because they don't have enough information or haven't come to an understanding because someone has hijacked the system. And the system, the person who's hijacked and manufactured the system to that effect is the Vatican. As I've always said, right? Now, if it's the first time that you're watching this channel, watching a video on this channel, I recommend that you watch the primer video first. You can pause this video right here. Go and watch that primer video. Download the document that's going to be attached to every video. You can go look on the primer video. We'll attach that document as well. It will show you the visual differences between male and female. Now, once you download that document and you read it, the document has a lot of pictures. It might look like it has a lot of pages, but it's going to take you barely 30 minutes to get through it. So once you're done with that, you can come back after watching the primer video and watch this, right? So I also recommend that you watch the Zayn Malik video at your own time and the Marilyn Monroe video at your own time. And when you're done with that, then we can get to the basis of all this. Now, what we are here trying to show you is that there's an organized system put in place that's given to taking kids, transgendering these kids, taking that choice away, taking the ability of them to make the choice to say, okay, I don't want to live in the gender that I was born with. I want to be born, I want to live in a gender that's different. Forcing these kids by mutilating them, whether they be male, they'll castrate them. If they're female, mutilating them and taking off their breast, or forcing them not to grow breast at all, feed them hormones or whatever kind of hormones they need to live in a gender that's not theirs. And so their lives they live in a completely different reality from what normal or regular people are. And their life is stuck and force fed on drugs because you need enough drugs to keep the body and to keep your mind, because your body is always going to fight in your mind, and your mind is always going to be fighting your body, because when you look at yourself, you know that you're not the sex or the gender that you claim with. It messes up your mind, right? Because the whole idea of transgendering people is a hoax. It's a fantasy. You can build houses in the air and the sky. You can only build houses on the ground, on solid earth, on rocks, right? So it's a fantasy. I mean, anybody can dream about building castles up in the sky or building castles, in the air. It's a fantasy. That's not a dream. A dream is reality, something that you can manufacture within the realms, within what has been provided for you. So, for example, if someone says, "I want to rule the world," that's not a fantasy. That's a dream, and it can come true. There's a difference between a fantasy and a dream. All right. So you have to know that. And part of the reason why we believe in so much fantasies because we've allowed our minds, because we're not thinking about stuff. We just believe in what we're told without actually looking into it if it's fact. So for example, let me say this, right? If you don't believe that the only way that a person can be born in this world is being born in the womb or through the womb of a woman, then you're already on your way to being whack. You can't think straight. Now, another foundation that you have to know is that the world, the world around you, the earth, is immovable. It's not moving. You don't see it move. You don't feel it move. The only thing you feel are earthquakes. You can see the sun move. You can feel the sun. You can see the stars move. You can see the moon move. You can see the clouds move. But the earth right here is not moving. Pseudoscience, I call it pseudoscience because it's not real science. Because science is based on observation and facts. So that's why I call it pseudoscience. Now, pseudoscience through NASA, who the Vatican owned, who's been into our educational system, I don't even call it educational system, I call it at this point indoctrinational system, has proven to you, has shown, it hasn't proven, it's made you believe that the earth is moving around the sun. But when you wake up every day, you don't see it. And they force feed you gravity to make you even more stupid in believing that the earth actually moves. It doesn't. Why don't you feel it move? Why don't you see it move? Why is it that everything else that moves around you can see and feel it move? Why is it that you don't see this great earth? You don't feel it move. You don't see it move. And yet you believe it does. So that's what I'm talking about. It's like living inside the matrix, right? The matrix is not real. It's a force-fed reality to keep you in a certain position. You got to wake up from it. You got to start putting your mind to work. All right? You got to start putting your senses to work. Don't just believe what you're told, especially on TV. It's the number one indoctrination tool. You have to study the facts. All right? Okay, so now let's get into this. Now, if you haven't known about Chris Hemsworth, let me just put a picture of him up here right now. This is Chris Hemsworth. And the first time I saw this, I was like, oh my goodness, because I work out myself. I couldn't believe, I'm like, this guy has such huge muscles. But who would come to believe that what you're looking at is not a dude, but actually a female? Now, one of the defining things of differences between a male and a female, if anything changes, because you can change the body, change the body in the sense that you can make it look more feminine, or you can make it look more male, right? But one thing that never changes is the skeletal structure. Now, for females, no matter what you do on trying to change that body, the wide pelvis that you have, which is wider than a man's pelvis, and the wide pubic arch that you have, right, which makes the pelvis wider such that it gives you that hourglass figure, is never going to change. With a male, that narrow pubic arch that you have, right, and the way your muscles are packed inside your pelvis will never change. All right? So those are one of the defining features. So when all else fails, this is what you need to look for. All right. Now, in the trick of transgendering males into females by making sure that they don't grow breasts, or actually taking the breast off, is that you feed them and you bulk them up. And one of the tricks of bulking them up is that you have to build the upper body muscles well, especially the muscles under the armpits, because that's going to give you this deception, or the view that the shoulders are wider because it's more packed up there. The muscles on the other armpit are more developed, which are the lat muscles, all right? So because the woman's shoulder is always narrow and shorter and inside the body, right? While the pelvis is always the widest part in the women's body, the shoulders are always tucked inside the body, right? So in order to give you that appearance that you're looking at a male, especially when he's been force-fed hormones and made to grow hair like Chris Hemsworth here, you think that you're looking at, right, a female. Now, let me show you what the female pelvis usually looks like, so maybe you could understand what I'm saying. Now, here's the pelvis of a woman inside, right? Now, when you're looking at a pelvis, you're looking at the top. You remember the pelvis is shaped like a bucket. So you're looking at the top view of a bucket that's filled with water. So let's just imagine that. Let's imagine that you're looking at a bucket from the top. all right, or that you're looking at a human being. Let's say the human being is below you and you're above it, like maybe you're like a floor up and the human being is one floor below you, so you're looking at him through from the top of his head down. So that's the view that you're looking at here right now. As you can see how the muscles here are packed because of a woman needs to give birth, so she needs to be able to use these muscles around here to pull the baby through her vagina, right? Okay, so that's why the pubic the pelvis of a woman is wider, right? So the baby can sit, and that's why it's also tilted forward, so the baby can stay inside. All right. Now let's move further. Right. Now here is still the same view of a female pelvis, but now you're looking at it from the top, so you can see the fallopian tubes here, right? And you can see this is the womb, right? And this is the other things, and that's like part of the the digestive tract. Okay. Now if we look, now here is the difference between male and a female pelvis. With a female pelvis, this is called the pubic arch. So it's gonna be like the space we say in between your legs. It is wider for males, at least 120 degrees wide or more for some females. So because this is wider, this makes the feet are further placed apart. Does it make sense? Because this is where the feet sets in. Like this is where you have the hip sockets, right? So this is where the hip sets in. Now, if this pubic arch wasn't this wide, for males it's shorter, so it would be much more closer. So that means the pelvis would be narrower, right? And then the legs would be, all right, closer together. So this wide pubic arch here makes a female to be able to spread her legs much more than a man, be able to have sex, and then also allow for the baby inside to come out here through the vagina. Does it make sense? So with that said, let's go into Chris Hemsworth so you can understand what I'm talking about. Now, if you're looking at Chris Hemsworth like I'm saying right here, you will see that he has an hourglass figure. An hourglass figure, that's always an indication that you're looking at a female, because males don't have hourglass figures. The hips are narrower, so it's straight up and down. But with Chris Hemsworth, you can see he has an hourglass figure. Now, if it's the first time you're on a channel and you don't really know and you haven't paid much attention to it, let me just give you a picture to see what a female should look like, the hourglass figure. All right, let's see this right here. Now here's a female right here, looking here, right? Can you see that hourglass figure right there? Can you see that? Right? You can see that the female indentation, that means the waist level for a female usually starts way up higher. It's always above her navel. While the male indentation, where the waist actually starts, is always lower, below the navel. So you can see that hourglass figure right here, right? And it's the same thing that Mr. Chris, or I could say Miss Chris, has over here. Hourglass figure. Now, the trick that I told you to bulking with male to female transgenders, that they gotta bulky up. If it's gonna show, if the facial hair is not gonna cut it, because some females have a more pronounced, you could actually see the very pronounced pelvis much more than others. But if they pack on fat and a lot of stuff, it's gonna cover that up. So with males to female transgender, what they do is try to bulk up the upper body, right? Bulk up the upper body, cut the fat out of the waist, so this side looks huge to cover up the hourglass figure. So they'll build up like the lat muscles on below around here, and that'll come out as female. Oh, sorry, that'll come out as male. So you can see the transformation that Chris Hemsworth went through from being so lean and having this hourglass figure to coming out here as Thor with all these muscles. And look at that, and look at him over here. Can you see what I'm talking about? So from here, they made sure they gave him enough testosterone, reduce the estrogen that his body naturally produces more because he's a female, and make him bulk up more, because the building factor of all males is testosterone. So it's testosterone that makes a males to have muscles. Female have a very low level of testosterone, so that's why no matter how a female works out, she won't have enough muscle mass. The muscles will not be huge and big like a male. Does it make sense? All right, let's go to the next picture. Here's Chris Hemsworth again, and as you can see, he has an arch in his back. All right, I don't know if you remember that females have arches in their back. So let me see if I can do this real quick and show you what I mean. Like that. You see that right here? That's an arch. The arch always starts just below the shoulder blades. It starts dipping in. And then when it comes to the navel, it starts going out into a female pelvis. Now, the arch is to support the weight, the extra weight that a female is going to have when she gets pregnant, so she can carry the baby around and not tumble over. All right? So it doesn't matter if you're muscular, a female will always have that arch in her back. So as you can see over here, Chris Hemsworth has it, showing you that he is female. So my channel, I'm not making fun of these people or they're trying to laugh, because to me, they live in an alternate reality in a very confused world. I mean, I think they're suffering because to us, you might think they have all the money, all the power, the celebrities, they're enjoying life and having fun, but they're actually suffering because their body is always going to be fighting. Because, like I said, it's a hoax for you to think that you can actually be transgender, you can live in a sex. It's a fantasy, all right? So a fantasy is, for example, someone imagining that he can build a house in the sky. You can't build houses in the sky. You have to build a house on solid earth, on rock. It's a fantasy. No, as much as you would try and dream up ways of doing it, it's still going to be a fantasy, right? We live in a world that's been defined by rules. Rules that you have to be on the earth, all right? It's a fantasy. Now, if someone said, I want to rule the world, that's not a fantasy because that's what's really going on here. All right? People are sitting in a room and trying to rule the world. And as I said, they're at the Vatican with all their people around. Okay? Let's go to the next picture. Now, here is the next picture right here. Okay? Now, here's the next picture of Chris Hemsworth. Now, if you take a good look at Mr. Chris here, right? Now, if you were homosexual or gay, I am telling you, for you to have this pose right like Miss Chris Hemsworth does here, it would be impossible. Now, looking at this picture, you would know that this is a female standing. This doesn't look male at all. Look at that pose. You couldn't get this right with all the years of training. That's because he's a genetically born female. He ain't male. Don't be deceived, all right? Some more pictures, all right? And look at Chris Hemsworth again right here. Now, I haven't taken a look. This is his brother over here, right? I don't know what, I don't quite remember what his name is, but I haven't taken a look at him yet. But I don't know if he's male or female. I don't know what it is. But Miss Chris Hemsworth here that I've looked at, you can actually see that is female. Because remember, with females, a male from the side is going to have more of his back width showing. Now, Chris Hemsworth, since he's been doing a lot of like back muscle development over here and trying to increase the width of his back, looks like he's got a little bit of it, but you can still see for such a huge dude, right? Now, how tall is Chris Hemsworth? Let's just take a look at how tall he is, all right? Let's just do a quick check on it. Chris Hemsworth height, all right? And see how tall he is. Chris Hemsworth is actually 6'3". So we should be seeing a lot of like side view of Chris Hemsworth. So now we're not seeing that, all right? And let me just show you a picture of how a male back view should look like. Can you see the picture on my screen right now? That's a male. Can you see the width of this male right here? Right? That's what Chris Hemsworth should have. Let me pull it from the side so you can see. But you can see it's not comparable. And he's a big dude. He's supposed to be a big dude, but he's a big female. 6'3". All right, next picture. As you can see, like what I was trying to say before, they try to build the lat muscles, give him a lot of upper body development, so he looks like he looks like a dude. So to hide the hourglass figure and shape that he has, but as you can see, it's not working. You can still see the hourglass figure. You're looking at a chick with a beard. Sorry. Let's move further. Same picture, so you can still see clearly. Next picture now. Now this is when they were trying to bulk him up, all right? And the trick, like I'm saying, male to female transgenders is that they have to be bulked up. As you can see, and it's wonderful because no matter how Chris Hemsworth has been developed muscle-wise, his pecs just seem not to get it because females don't have the kind of pec muscles that males have, right? Can you still see the hourglass figure if you're following my mouse? Just look at that. That's the hourglass figure of a female, meaning you're not looking at a male. Don't be deceived. Except you're gay, then that's your thing. But don't be deceived. You're looking at a female, all right? Next picture. All right, let's go to the next picture. Same picture. That's when he's still on this upper body development before he got to playing Thor. You can still see that they're still working on it, pumping him with enough testosterone and bulk him up in the gym. But the hourglass figure doesn't seem to go away. Can you see that? Follow my mouse. Can you still see that? Right? You're looking at a female. It's no dude. Next picture. And this is one of the pictures that I was thinking about when I was watching this. I'm like, if I was a dude wearing boxers, right? Like this with Chris Hemsworth, you would see my bulge showing, right? The bulge below that men usually have to show you that you're looking at a man. But with Chris Hemsworth, this looks really empty. What is going on over there? It look well, you can already know. It's a chick wearing my boxers. That's what I would say. That's why he's looking that way. He looks funny, right? All right. Next picture. And this is him just before he got to playing Thor. He's almost there. As you can see, like in what I'm saying, they try to develop the lats right here. But the the hand just seem to be hanging on the lats. That's not normal. A man's shoulder is supposed to be outside his body because a man's shoulders are the widest part of his body, right? But as you can see right here, that's not working. You can see that? And you can still see the hourglass figure, right? You're looking at a chick, right? Okay, next picture. And this is the last picture that we have. But by now, he's been transformed into Thor. And you can see, right, the hourglass figure is still there. Meaning you're looking at a chick, right? You can see how short the arms are as well. Because man's hands usually should be longer. So you still look at a chick. So with that, I come to the end of the video for today. I would tell you to subscribe and stay tuned, question everything, and use your senses. Thank you, and bye-bye.